my God, I talk about this so often. Therapy. Let's make it a song, honey. Therapy. So that people at the back can hear it. Therapy has been life-changing. There's a Lydia before therapy and there's a Lydia after therapy. And I always think, like, I started therapy at 31. Oh, dear. Who would I be? I would be Michelle Obama if I started at 20. I mean, it's been life-changing. Therapy. I meditate every day. I can't talk to anyone without meditating in the morning. At least 10 minutes of silencing my mind. And what this does is that it's teaching you that you are the one who's in control of the mind. The mind is not in control of you. So I get better sleep because I meditate. I'm able to question my thoughts better because if I'm able to silence them, I know I'm able to question them. You know, you put yourself in that power position where it's you who is in control of what's happening in your mind. And even if you can't control it, you can question, you can pivot, you can change it, you know? So that's another thing I do.
How big do you take care of your mental health? How important is it for you to be okay? For you to ensure that as a person, you live well and you feel good even on the inside of you. Today we have someone who I'm quite excited to host because she's really big on mental health and wellness. And before we started the shooting, she told me, go for it. There's no question that is out of bounds. And that got me, excited. Welcome to Wellness by JF Podcast. I'm your host, JF. And as always, go grab your water, grab your cup of chai, grab anything that tickles your fancy, and let's get in. I will not introduce my guest because I feel like I do not want to minimize her. So I will allow her to introduce herself in her own words.
Hi, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Jay. I really appreciate it. Any conversation about wellness, where am I? Please tell me the name, the time, the location. There I am. My name is Lydia K.M. I am a wellness and lifestyle content creator and one half of TMI Podcast. I'm very passionate about anything pertaining taking care of your mental health, anything pertaining heart matters, mind health, wellness in general, and having a holistic lifestyle that allows you to live in the most harmonious way with your inner self. So that includes healing childhood traumas, looking at relationship patterns, limiting beliefs. Everything about maybe the way I live and the content I create is centered around, are you doing what's good for you? That's the question which we're always asking ourselves on a daily basis. So it's a passion of mine and I'm so happy to be here to have this conversation. And yeah, let's talk about it, whatever it is. What are these questions?
Yeah, I'm so excited, Lydia. And I think it's because we see a lot of you on TMI and we wanted to see a different side of Lydia.
Right, okay.
Than what we see on TMI.
Yeah.
So I'll first start by asking, why do you do what you do?
I always think back to what made me feel like I even needed to have a platform. And I always remember I'm a young Lydia, just not knowing herself, not understanding her world, not understanding herself in relationships, all of these things. And I was looking for someone who has a platform where they discuss wellness, they discuss, mental health and how to take care of yourself, but also they show what's happening with their real life. Because I feel like a lot of people who are in the wellness community only just give us the theory. It's just conversation. It's just do this, it's just do that. But I want to see what kind of home do you live in? I want to see what are you having for breakfast? I want to see what kind of clothes you wear. What are your friends like? What are your families like? Because theory is great, but I wanted to see a real life expression of having a wellness lifestyle. So I created my platform from that perspective. I didn't think I was creating a platform. I just wanted to post in the way that I wish someone was posting for me, because I wanted to see it when that young Lydia wanted to see this Lydia now. So that's why that was the inspiration around my content.
Wow,
yeah.
That's nice. And would you say that maybe your childhood and how you grew up maybe predisposed you to do this?
To a certain degree, I was having this conversation with my therapist, and there's a time not too long ago I was feeling very frustrated about the journey of healing your childhood traumas. It's one thing after another. Honestly, healing is a long life journey, and sometimes it gets very frustrating. So what she said to me is that there are elements of the childhood experiences I've had that probably are the reason why I do what I do, right? Because maybe in my pursuit of healing for myself, I found purpose in creating a platform where other people can also find guidance in their healing journey. So there's that element. Then the element of being raised in England probably does as well, because I guess I feel I'm a bit more ahead, and I'm using ahead in very big quotes because I don't want it to come off like, the West is somewhat ahead. But these conversations have been, these conversations on wellness have been going on for a lot longer. So then, for example, I read the book The Power by Rhonda Byrne when I was about 22 or 23, right? And so I started that curiosity around wellness, around how does our mind create our realities, why are we the way that we are, right? I also did psychology when I was in A-levels from 16 to 18. So the question on how our mind is affecting our life has been in there somewhere. But my psychology teacher told me that even at 16, he told me that I had the understanding of human nature of a 35-year-old. So maybe there's something innately in me that has that curiosity around our minds and how they work and how we create our life around the psychology of, our subconscious, everything. So there's some nature, it seems like, but there's also definitely nurture. Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned that at around 22, that's when you at least started reading a book, and would you say pre-22 and where we are right now, that your life is better based on the decisions that you make, based on self-awareness?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say pre-22, like, there was a difference there, because at 22 it was curiosity. So there's curiosity, then there's awareness, then there's implementing, then there's a result, right? So it's been that journey. So I would say like early on that awareness, maybe to 25, then implementing, maybe like 25 to maybe 28. Then awareness, was around like, my late 20s. That's when I was like, okay, I want to live a particular lifestyle. I want to do these things that way. Then implementing has been more over the last couple of years. And now it's when I'm living the result of the work, So I feel like the biggest difference, I would say, is probably in the last 4 or 5 years is when I can see a tremendous difference. And 100% my life is better for it. And it's not that I'm searching out for a particular way that my life looks, but it's in the way that I feel more than anything. I wake up and I think I've created a life that I'm so proud of, a life that I'm so proud of. I've found a way to create a relationship with myself where I feel at peace. I love myself. I give myself grace. And despite facing a lot of things, I recently went through a breakup. You find your way back to yourself. And I think that's where the tools of wellness are so beneficial, because life is going to life. It doesn't matter how many books you're reading. It doesn't matter how many places you're going to do yoga and meditate. Life is going to life. But the tools help you life with life. It helps you stabilize. It helps you return back to yourself when you need to. So I feel confident now that I've created a life where I feel like, wow, girl, great. Well done.
Wow. I can actually get the vibe.
Yeah.
I get the vibe that you're a woman who's, like, I would say, come full circle. You've come full circle.
That's a good way to articulate it, correct? Yeah.
And you're standing in your grounds and you're really confident. How has that been, coming from, like you're saying, lifing, issues not going the way you want them to be, their breakup?
Yeah.
How has that been?
God, it's just been like, it's been, even now, as I say, I've come full circle. There might be something that happens tomorrow that I'm just like, wow, I'm beginning. But the way it's been with going through tough experiences, I feel like this is a gift I give myself, having the discipline to do things that cater to my mental health, to my wellness, to understand myself more, to meet myself with more grace and more empathy. That's the gift I give myself to be able to help me have a harmonious life. It's just a gift to myself, you know. So it's been challenging for sure, because if people are looking up to me to, you know, I guess I know more than other people, and not necessarily that I do, honestly. I just have a lot more information, but the practice is just as hard for me. But then you go through a tough experience, and it's just like you feel like you're being watched to see. Let's see.
Yeah, let's
and also
watch,
when you feel like you're failing, it's hard to reconcile what you're about or what you speak of and failure, because I mean, shouldn't I know better? Shouldn't I know? I mean, isn't your wellness supposed to make you failure free? There's a lot of conflict with that sometimes, but that's part of the process to enable me to have grace. And funny enough, I'm glad I've gone through something difficult with a big platform, so that it's clear what the wellness has done for me, because I've been able to get past the breakup in a way that hasn't destroyed my relationship with myself, hasn't left me resentful and angry, hasn't given me more limiting beliefs, you know. So that is the gift. It's not that I'm never gonna make mistakes. It's not that I won't fail, but it's the way I'm gonna have a clearer perspective, so that I'm able to pivot through life's pitfalls in a way that's empowering. That's it. Yeah, so now that's where I am. So I don't mind falling on my face anymore. I'm not scared of whatever may come, because my job isn't to be failure proof. It's to just adjust in an empowering way, to pivot in an empowering way. Yeah.
Speaking about the breakup, how did you take it at first, like when it happened? Just take us through how you took it and how you came out of it.
I mean, I took it like anyone who has a beating heart. I was devastated. I was distraught. And a negative consequence of being very emotionally in tune with yourself is that you feel it. There is no running. You have trained yourself to feel your emotions. So at the depth and the darkest moments, you're there. You're nowhere else. So self-esteem down the drain. I hated everything. I didn't want to work. I didn't want to do anything. I wasn't eating. I wasn't sleeping. I was as devastated as any other human being was. And because, as I say, I'm very emotionally in tune, I was feeling it all. But I was also very intentional. The second day after the breakup, literally yesterday is when we broke up. The next day, I bought the book Conscious Uncoupling by Catherine Woodard Thomas. I had heard her talk about that book like years back, and she had said the way we end one relationship is the way we start the other one, and I had seen it played out in my last relationship, where I left a relationship where it was acrimonious in the way that we ended. There was a lot of negativity and negative energy. Then the way I started, as soon as I got committed to my last partner, I saw all of that come up, because they weren't properly processed. So I wanted to be intentional about this one. So I was reading that book. I was going to therapy every week. The first month of the breakup, I was working out 3 times a week. Thank you, Shiv Simanish. He asked me to do this challenge, which I was able to do. I didn't complete all of it, but every 3 days, I think I was doing it every day. Or no, every 3 weeks, sorry. Every 3 days, sorry. 3 times a week. Where is that, my language? Where are my words? Please, someone help me. Anyway, I was doing it 3 times a week. I was journaling. I was crying. Hey. Please, if there's an award for crying, here I am. It is I, number 1. I was crying a lot.
Say this, Lydia?
I mean, I'm not going to cry on camera, but that process I shared. About 3 weeks in is when I announced, because I had communicated I'm in a relationship. I was sharing a lot about my relationship. So it ending and me making that public that it's ended, that felt like it was also part of a release. So 3 weeks in is when I did that. Then that first month was the worst. September was the worst month I've had possibly in my adult life. Horrible. October, not so bad, because now therapy and the things I've been doing are getting better. So at the 6 weeks mark, I was like, okay, all right, I'm alive. Now, I'm not going to die. The world is not going to end. So October wasn't too bad. It was getting back into life, By the way, in September, I took a week off work. I just get off social media and just be by myself, just feel what I need to feel. I had an incredible support system. My friends were just centered. I mean, just super supportive. So October was better. November, I was way back into myself. And now, as a content creator, Q4 is extremely busy. So I was swamped with work. So I guess it helped. And also November is when I did a breakup workshop, a better breakup workshop. I think there's this narrative about breakups. You need to hate your ex. It needs to be horrible. You know, that narrative, I wanted to be part of changing it. So I did that workshop. It was a 2-week workshop. It was over 50 people signed up, and I took them through what I did, the content which I was listening to, the way I dealt with things, the emotions I went through, and guided them through. It was a 14-day experience, and we did 2 seminars. I was also doing it with partnership with Dr. Vundi, who's a psychiatrist. So it was great to have her support, and that was also part of my healing. I processed a lot of stuff then as well, like, you know, lingering, because I did quite a bit of lingering that I wasn't really being honest with myself about. And I also processed there as well. So by the end of November, I was out of the horrors of it. And then December came. I went back home for Christmas, and I was with my family. I felt more at ease. January came. I moved out of our home. We had stayed. We were living together. At the end of January, I moved out of our home. I started living somewhere else in February. I would say I was completely out of the woodwork. End of February. That was it. So September, October, November, December, January, February, 6 months. Then I felt there was a full stop to that. There was a full stop, because you get triggers and all of these little things, and you go back and forth. And lingering, by the way, is having that mental connection still with that relationship, either wishing it's going to be different or something like that, and also lingering maybe with the ex-partner, which is like you're still talking, maybe you're still having sex or whatever the case may be. So there's a lot of things that happen that are a bit messy in that time. But I think my full stop came at the end of February, and then here we are.
Wow, I love that. It has actually been a journey.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And the fact that you are very key on it being intentional, right? So in terms of self-awareness, where would you say self-awareness played the part in this journey?
Self-awareness, I guess some of the gifts that I gave myself because of my self-awareness is understanding that, number one, there could be a different way. Self-awareness is always seeing things that there's this way, but could it be this way? Could it be that way? That's what that room is. One of the biggest ways of having. That's one of the big gifts of self-awareness. You understand that your way is not always the right way. So that means that when I was starting to deal with the breakup, I was like, I've done it a different way, but could this way work? So that's why I was able to be intentional about it. As far as healing myself, I was like, I know this is the way I was seeing this end of this relationship, or this is the way I was treating the person in the relationship, or this is the things I was saying and doing. But is this other way? Could there be this other way? And then also because of understanding my own childhood traumas, understanding my attachment style and my limiting beliefs when it comes to love and relationships, that self-awareness helped in my healing because I knew where the pain points were. So what's your story in love, Lydia? What do you really believe of love and relationship? What do you believe you deserve? Because your life is a reflection of what you think you deserve or what you think is accessible to you. So where are we not doing it? The self-awareness allowed me to go inward. It wasn't about him. What about you? What about you? What part are you playing? Because this is your life. Kathy Woodward Thomas says, even if someone was 98% a monster, what was your 2%? At the very least, your 2% is that you stayed. Why did you stay? What's that about? What made you feel like you need to stay in that kind of relationship? What does that say? You know, what story is there and how can you heal it? If you make it about you, you get out of it faster because you're in control of your stuff. You're in control of your limiting beliefs. You're in control of your stuff, your ways of seeing things. Keep it outside and you have no control. Okay, fine, let's sit and discuss this monster. What have we changed for you? Nothing. And it's easier to point at that monster because it stops you from pointing at yourself. So that's why people stay there. That's why people stay in the victim mode of, woe is me, this keeps happening to me. I don't seem to be getting the right relationship. And believe you me, I stayed a good number of weeks in victimhood. Oh, because victimhood is so comfortable. I love it there. It's warm. No one is making you accountable. You get to be, woe is me, and everyone is so bad, and you're not in control. Because if there's no control, then that means you can't change anything. That means you can sit there and just be a weak, poor, you can be a baby.
Poor old you.
Poor old you. That's a good place to be. Oh, it's so nice.
Comfortable.
But eventually, for adults, accountability is where the power is. Victimhood is comfortable, but there's no power. There's no power to change. There's no power to change, to create a different narrative. There's no power to create a different story. So then you're powerless. And I can't sit there that long. I can be, I can be a victim, but I can't live there. I can't make victimhood my home. And eventually you get up out of it and you start looking at yourself, and you start looking at your story, and you start looking at your own participation in the demise. It's not your fault, all of it, because the other person gets their 50%, but you start looking at your 50% and you're just like, it's not that great. But now that we know it's not that great, what can you do about it? And there comes growth.
Wow,
Yeah.
I love that. And you mentioned about being intentional. And in mental health, we always say that you create, actually.
Yeah.
You create the life that you want.
Yeah.
You create the relationships that you want. What are some of the things that you do or that you've done in the past to create the life that you're living right now?
Oh my God, I talk about this so often. Therapy. Let's make it a song, honey. Therapy. So that people at the back can hear it. Therapy has been life-changing. There's a Lydia before therapy and there's a Lydia after therapy. And I always think, like, I started therapy at 31. Oh dear. Who would I be? I would be Michelle Obama if I started it at 20. I mean, it's been life-changing. Therapy. I meditate every day. I can't talk to anyone without meditating in the morning. At least 10 minutes of silencing my mind. And what this does is that it's teaching you that you are the one who's in control of the mind. The mind is not in control of you. So I get better sleep because I meditate. I'm able to question my thoughts better because if I'm able to silence them, I know I'm able to question them. You put yourself in that power position where it's you who is in control of what's happening in your mind. And even if you can't control it, you can question, you can pivot, you can change it, so that's another thing I do. Journaling, I don't do it as consistently, but I love journaling, especially when I feel like things are building up and I just want to express myself. I can put it out. There's also many exercises that I do to help me be able to regulate my nervous system and regulate my emotions. I'm a highly sensitive individual, which means I'm always picking up other people's emotions, other people's energies, and the way I feel emotions is in a very intense way. So when I feel joy, it's like no one has ever been happier than me in life. And when I feel pain, it is the end of the world. And it's not the end of my world, it's the end of all of us. It's the end of all of us. Everyone is done because of how I'm feeling, and it can be very overwhelming. And a lot of people who are highly sensitive, I know you feel like you're ruled by your emotions, but learning to be able to regulate my nervous system and improve my relationship with myself and give myself grace has really helped me in doing that. The people who I follow on social media is a big part. I'm only consuming content that's either empowering or entertaining or making me laugh, but it's always good for my mental health. As I said, wellness for me, the way I define it, is living a lifestyle that's always asking what is good for me. So that's in relationships. Are you setting boundaries? Are you being honest with people? Are you doing what you need to do to stop being a people pleaser? It's in the way you take care of your body. What are you doing? By the way, I'm alcohol free 63 days today.
Really?
Yeah, and it's something which I want to make a lifestyle. So it's another question is what's good for me? I'm answering that question in the way that I'm living. If it's about your sleep, staying on your phone until 2 a.m, then feeling groggy and annoyed and upset about the way you work, is that good for you? So my sleep quality, the mattress that I bought, the pillows that I bought, everything is about how can I have good quality sleep. If it's about showing up, am I showing up with discipline? Am I taking care of like business the way that I should? Am I where I need to be on time? Am I respecting my work by working hard and putting out what I need to do? In my the dynamics with Gloria, who's my PN, we're a team. How am I showing up? How am I? What environment am I creating in this work? Because all of these things contribute to who you are and how you feel. So if everywhere in my life I'm answering the question, what is good for me, then I'm coming up. I'm able to show up like the best way that I possibly can. So yeah, those are some of the practices that I do. But every day I'm learning something else and I'm doing something else. I'm learning how to swim. And I feel like I'm healing my inner child with that, because I've always loved water. So being trained and being comfortable in water has done something else for my spirit and my soul that I can't even explain, you know. Yeah, I love my friends. I'm intentional with my friendships. I'm intentional with my family, you know. It's a holistic lifestyle.
And it's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle.
What informed your decision to quit alcohol?
Funny enough, it was, I just woke up and I was just like, it makes more sense to me now to not drink than to drink. That's it. It's not political. It is not anything. I'm not even trying to convert anyone. By the way, I'm constantly in an environment so everyone is drinking. And it doesn't, there's no resistance, because it just feels like this is just a personal decision that I just don't want to do it anymore. And my therapist told me that it makes sense because I have a very close relationship between in understanding the connection between my body and my emotional well-being. So she said to me that it makes sense to her that I've made this decision, because what my body is feeling is directly reflecting how I'm feeling. So then it makes sense I've stopped drinking so that I can not be as affected emotionally, you know, by the ups and downs of not drinking. Yeah, the ups and downs of drinking. Yeah.
Okay. And in terms of the quality of your life, would you say that maybe you became more self-aware when you stopped drinking? In terms of maybe your responses, how you respond to stimuli and how you respond to things?
I mean, it's been 2 months, so maybe let me not, you know, stand as the advocate for alcohol-free in Kenya. But there's a complete difference in the way I operate. Number one, quality of sleep. If you don't have the constant manipulation with your, you know, up and down with alcohol, the quality of your sleep is more stable, right? My emotions are more stable, you know? Also, I used to say that I have anxiety. Do I? Or did I used to just drink? That's what I'm starting to see. That maybe really what I thought was anxiety is just the calm down of drinking. And it's not that I was drinking like any more than anyone else. Christmas period, we overdid it for sure. But generally, I do it socially. I don't interrupt my life or anything like that. But that cocktail on Monday, you drink it, then you don't know that the calm down is coming because you didn't get drunk. So you don't expect the calm down, but there is one. There's always, if there's an up, there's a down with anything that is, you know, that gives you, that manipulates your chemicals. There's going to be a calm down. So then maybe you're anxious in the morning, but you don't know why. Because that cocktail didn't get you wasted, you think you're not, this is not affecting you now, you know? So it's been very different. And also creatively, I feel like I'm more responsive to my ideas. I'm getting more ideas because there's something, it's a pineal gland, and apparently that's where we get our ideas or whatever the case may be, and it's not manipulated by alcohol as much now, you know. So I feel like I'm more present. The quality of my being places, I'm here more than being all over the place. And I don't know if it's strictly just because of alcohol, but yeah, it's been so helpful. I feel more centered with myself. I understand myself more. I'm more at one with my emotions. So I guess that's all contributing to more self-awareness.
And I've seen on your page, you're a big advocate for therapy, and even here on the couch, I have heard you like advocating for
Give me another mic just specifically for that.
Yes, yeah. Go. What is the biggest take home for you when you started going to therapy?
Oh my God, how can you ask me such a question? You asked me to choose between the babies I've learned in therapy. Oh my God, I don't know what I would say is the biggest takeaway, but I can tell you, therapy has taught me that I have been living for so long with false truths. Because you speak to your therapist, just be like, yeah, and then this, and I think that's so wrong. And then she stops, she's like, where did you learn that it's wrong? And you're just like, you don't even question your beliefs sometimes because you just know them to be true and fact. So you've been going through life with all of these false truths guiding your every move, and they were false from the start. So therapy has helped me understand who I am without my false truth, without my conditioning, without the you should do this, you should do that. And I don't know what's a better gift, because maybe I'm seeing life for the very first time from the way I was supposed to see it, from the way life is as it is, as opposed to from the way I was told it is. There's a beautiful quote, I can't say it all, it's a long quote, but the essence of it is that therapy helps you see what's happening and all the blind spots in your story, so that you can live life as it is, as opposed to as the story you're telling yourself. You know, you believe that love and relationships, you know, you're supposed to be married at 25. Where did you learn that? Let's break that down. You believe that relationships are scary. Where did you learn that? You believe that all men cheat. Where did you learn that? You believe that all women are there to use you for your money. Where did you learn that? When you break those down, you're able to have the opportunity to, like, when I meet you, Jay, I'm just like, hi, how are you? I'm able to see you as you. I'm probably still have loads of conditioning, but it's better, it's purer. I won't come in with all of my shortcomings and all of those things. So the way I'm approaching work is different. The way I'm approaching content is different. The way I'm approaching relationships is going to be different, you know? And I recently did my, got my therapy graduation. I didn't know it was a thing. So therapy graduation is where your therapist tells you that they feel like you're no longer in need of their guidance, and now it's really up to you if you want to keep coming, right? And I hit that point like 2 weeks ago or so, and I can tell you that last session, I'm still going to be seeing my therapist. I feel like paying someone to go and I just regurgitate all my crap in my head, and they have to sit there and listen. Please, I am not going to cut off that privilege, but maybe I guess not as much. Anyway, it got to a point where in that last session, I just talked about what's going on in my life. And then I was telling her, and then I felt this, but then I questioned it like this. And then I pivoted like this. And I did what you usually say, and then I did that, you know? And then I'm able to see things in a perspective. My therapist always says, you using the word like maybe it's this always means that other ways of thinking, other perspectives can coexist with your own, because the rigidity of this is the only way is what prevents progress, is what prevents you from healing some parts which are like your blind spots, you know? So always being open. And I remember she was like, okay, you've talked now. I think I talked for like 30 minutes. She was like, is there anything there that you need me to help you with? I was like, no. I feel like I was able to do this, you know, and I just told her how I was able to like go through all of those life's little ups and downs and challenges. And then we had a conversation about my relationship with my dad and the way I have a very new perspective about it. And once I said that, she was like, okay, now you're done. Because I started therapy because of the relationship I have with my dad. Like we just had like, we had a moment which was like just, really, I just felt like I had enough, and I was feeling like I'm not able to help myself with this. Despite all of my self-work, I felt like I could do with more guidance, you know? And so therapy has just changed everything for me. At the very least, going to have things out to someone who has the professional capacity to understand and to see things in a different way, that is wonderful. And shameless plug, I have a therapist contact list on my page where you can find their rates, you can find their specialities, you can find their location, whether or not they do virtual or physical, so that when you're sifting and sorting, you know what's happening. Some of them accept insurance for those who are on insurance. So I know I struggled to look for a therapist. I just had a bunch of numbers. I didn't know their rates. I didn't know. So I was just calling. And the contact list, there's also guidance on how to find the right one for you, because there's also okay, I want to start therapy, but how do I know you're the right one? So there's guidance on that as well. So I advocate for therapy so much, but not therapy alone. Self-work and therapy is why I've been able to progress. In fact, most of therapists will tell you the work is between sessions. The work is between sessions. When you come here, I'm here to guide you. I'm here to give you. And then the work is between sessions. And also, even in session, it's 80% you. If your therapist asks you, how are you? And you say you're good, and that's not true, how can they help you? So there's the 80% of you sharing and you actually being open and being vulnerable. When I tell my therapist everything. If there's anyone who can finish me in this Nairobi, it's that therapist. She can finish me. I tell her everything because I want her to have the full picture, so that when she's advising me, she has clarity on actually this is what is good, because she can see what's real. So I would advocate for you to get therapy. If you think you don't need therapy, you are the one who needs therapy the most. I saw a quote which said, people are in therapy because the people in their lives who won't go to therapy. True. So it's a gift to the people even around you for you to be a better person, for you to have different perspectives and to understand yourself in a better way. So yes, I really advocate for therapy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me five tools that you learned in therapy that you're now taking along with you.
Oh my goodness. Number one, one of the questions I had asked her is I wanted to know whether I was drawing the boundaries with my father. Sorry, I realized I didn't answer your questions. I went on a tangent about therapy. Forgive me. Anyway,
No probs.
one of the things is I was asking her because of I had drawn boundaries with my father at that time, and I asked her, am I drawing boundaries from a place of love or from a place of pain? She was like, why does it matter if it's from a place of pain? Pain is an indicator that something needs to change. You break your leg, you know you need to go to hospital. So when you're feeling emotional pain, that's an indicator that something needs to change. So drawing a boundaries from that place is not a problem. So don't feel like you're holding bitterness or you're stopping to talk to that person because you're in pain and it's a bad thing. It's not. Pain is stopping you from protecting it's stopping you from being in further pain. And that's what she said. Even if a boundary is just to stop you from further pain, that's enough. Then you adjust as you go, and that's exactly what I've done. That's one thing. Number two, nobody's going to give you your happy ending because you can't even give yourself your happy ending. There's no guarantee. That's no guarantee. So even when you're selecting a partner, they're not supposed to come there to complete you and finally give you this, like, save you and give you this, like, wow, finally. You can't guarantee yourself a happy ending because how far have you come with that? So how can another person give you that? So going into relationships in a more explorative way, let's see what we could create, as opposed to it has to be like this and it has to be done like this. That might be problematic. Deciding that somebody is the love of your life in the beginning, no. The love of your life is a person who's going to be with you at the end of your life. Then you will say it's the love of your life. Actually, at the end of your life, you will know who the love of your life is, right? Everyone is the love of your life as you go. In moments, you're the love of my life now. I can't predict the future. So deciding that someone is the love of your life is just, you can say you're the love of my life because it's a beautiful thing to say. I want to hear that too. But having the true understanding that the love of your life is an evolution. It's something that goes. And some people are gonna get to the end of their life and the person they're with is not the love of their life. And it's fine, but that's when you will know who the love of your life was. Another thing I've learned in therapy, knowing where my beautiful characteristics of being an alpha woman end and where the unsavory overspill starts. So I think it's just Ivy who was having this conversation about, is your being opinionated harming you at work or becoming a detriment at work? And I remember there was all this conversation about definitely speak up or whatever the case may be, but Ivy made a very good point. It's in the how you're articulating yourself, it's in the time, it's in the who you're talking to, all of these things. And from that place I realized I had gone through this, I was going through this with therapy, and I realized that as alpha women, we are very protective of our freedom of expression because the world has been trying to mute us for so long. And because of that, if you tell me that was a bit rude, I feel like, no, you are the one who needs to adjust to me. This is another way that alpha women are being muted and being stopped. But is it, or were you being rude? Is it, or were you being intimidating? Is it, or are you actually making this person feel small? Understanding where that strength, that boldness, that assertiveness ends, and where the unsavory overspill starts. So that when your relationships maybe aren't working because you're intimidating and rude and disrespectful, you're able to say it's because of those, not because of the beautiful things about your personality. Because for a long time, there's a narrative of, strong women find it hard to be in relationships, alpha women, all of these narratives. And it's okay to say that the world definitely needs to adjust to alpha women, but we also need to be accountable when we are taking up other people's space and making them feel uncomfortable and all of these things. So she had me write down all the times I've had conflict and to look where my part was. That's the part you've got to adjust. Keep your strength, but leave the rudeness. Keep your strength, but watch the tone. Keep your strength, but reduce the volume, So that was a big, that really helped me really shift a paradigm shift. I've said how many? 4.
Those are 4, yes.
Those are 4. And one last one, which was also recent, was was counting, I had a blind spot. And I used to count, and I said this to my sister, and I was so sure this was like a normal insecurity, where I was saying that when I count, you know, the more successful I get, the bigger my platform becomes, you know, the wealthier I become, then the harder it's going to be for me to find like a partner who I feel aligns. And my sister was like, it's odd that you've counted all the amazing things about yourself as the reason. What a blind spot that I've been carrying for so long. I didn't say the poorer I am, the more I don't take care of myself, the more I live in a dustbin. I mentioned all the amazing things about myself as the cause or the reason to not align with a partner. And when I went into therapy with that already, then the steps that we took as far as seeing where that came from, how I've been conditioned to believe that, when I shifted that, when I tell you, I felt like my whole world looked different. My whole world looked different. And of course, if you think that those things are preventing you from aligning with the partner of your dreams, there's a way you're going to curtail your success, possibly. There's a way you're going to make yourself smaller because you think it's preventing you from getting something big that you really want. And how have I been having a life or living a life from that smallness because I thought it was going to cost me this thing that I really want, you know? And one more was that she told me that we always resist the change that we think is going to cause us pain. No matter how good it is for you, if you think it's going to cause you pain or it's going to make you uncomfortable, you're definitely going to resist it. So she always tells me, when change is coming, find good things about it and stick there, because your body won't resist it then. But if it only sees the bad, it's going to keep you in comfort. Yeah, I could go on, but I'll just leave those as those.
That's a very nice take home. I want us to explore a bit about your relationship with your dad. How was it? I know you've touched a bit on it. And how has it affected you in hindsight?
Oh, goodness. My relationship with my dad, when we were young, my parents were married up until I was 9 years old. And from what I remember, all of the memories I have then were just beautiful. And you know, perfect, happy family from my perspective. My mom will tell you a different story, but from my childhood perspective, I grew up with a lot of love in those years. My young life was, you know, warm. When they split up, it was acrimonious, to say the very least. I can't even articulate with enough words. And then at 11, we moved to England with my mom. We were staying with my dad in those periods because my mom left almost immediately after their separation, and then so we stayed with my dad. And then when we left for England, that was kind of the beginning of the end, right? The beginning of the end on my dad's side as well, that really affected him. And then the beginning of the end from our perspective of our relationship, it was just hard and difficult, and even trying to communicate when we are abroad and when he was here, it was just hard. When we used to come here, there was a lot going on that was like, you know, negative and painful. Then when I moved here, it only amplified that, you know. But now realizing that my dad has had a mental health illness that he's been dealing with that we just weren't aware of, I can see that was more the thing than really him, who he is. However, the inner child in me needing an apology, needing validation, needing to reconcile some of that pain, I've needed time, for sure. And I decided that I'm not going to try to actively create a relationship where I know I'm having to pretend that I'm not in pain. So maybe I took the journey to therapy. It's been a year now. I drew boundaries. I've adjusted them as I've gone. And now we're at a place where my perspective is very, very different. And my perspective I have now is I've been trying to, you know, have a happy, healthy relationship, a long-lasting relationship, I guess, all of my life with all of the tools that I have, and I haven't had that. So my dad, who didn't have all of the tools, tell him to be a parent. What do you expect? We give to the capacity that we've met ourselves, right? So being able to see that there was no malice in his lack of capacity. There was no, this was an intention for me to be, it wasn't like he's intending to be this way. He didn't have the capacity, he didn't have the tools. And then on top of that, the decisions that you make because of not having that capacity can build a lot of shame, can build a lot of guilt. That shame and guilt can start substance abuse and create even more unhealthy habits that create even more shame and guilt. So that relationship he has with himself maybe has been needing support and care and love and warmth, and he hasn't been able to get it. So who could he be for me if he was struggling to be for himself? So I've shifted my perspective in that way, and I'm looking to see what can happen now, because when you tell someone to come 50% of the way, they have to come 50% of the way based on their capacity.
Correct.
I am blessed with so much emotional awareness, and so I'm able to be in tune with myself. I know more. I have all of this information. I'm educated so much. So is my 50% the same as this 50%? No. Mine is more, you know? So I that's the place I am now, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that. But I know there's been a full circle moment for me as far as the perspective of seeing that. And I was actually saying, the example I give my therapist is that if my ex-partner, for all the mistakes that I made in the relationship, kept reminding me and telling me what a crappy girlfriend I was and making me feel shamed and guilt, would I be open to have a relationship? Then if this is what I've been doing on my end, from my dad's point of view to my dad, of course it will be harder to have a relationship. And not to say that holding your parents accountable is a bad thing. Actually, it's necessary to continue to have a relationship with them. But in the way that we do that, we want to do it in a way that if you want a relationship with them, maybe create that environment, you know. So that's where my perspective is at, and I don't know what I'm going to do about it. But I'm listening to myself, and I'm always curious, and in my healing journey I'm always giving myself wiggle room. So I don't know what I'm going to do, but when I'm ready, I'll do it. Or maybe I won't do anything, and I'm okay for where we are, because there's peace when we see each other, there's calm when we see each other, and I don't harbor anything in my heart anymore. So we might just stay here, but we might do more. Stay tuned. I'm also waiting to see what I'll do. I don't know. Yeah.
And before therapy, before healing, before that self-awareness, how would you say inner childhood trauma came or showed up in your life?
It shows up everywhere. It shows up in the friends, the dynamic in my friends. It shows up in the partners which you who you're picking. It shows up in the way you're treating yourself, like in the way you're treating your home. It shows up everywhere, in everything, all of the time. Yeah.
Was it something you picked up before
I
therapy?
didn't know that that's what it was. Oh no, before therapy, yes, for sure. I've had self-awareness about how my childhood traumas affect my adult life for a long time.
Okay.
It's just therapy now really escalated it and showed me, wow, this is the way, and not also show me this is the way to navigate, you know. So I've had that awareness for a while. I've been having those kind of conversations and understanding my attachments. I'll read the book Attached, everybody read that book, and understanding why I create these patterns in relationships, understanding why I have an imposter syndrome. I mean, so many things. It's been a long journey to see why I do this is because of this happened when I was younger, you know. So yeah, I've understood that for a while now.
It's funny that you mentioned imposter syndrome, because that's where I was going next.
Oh yeah.
Yes. But if I do say so, Lydia, and I think I said this when I met you, you do have an authoritative voice. Like, it's authoritative. For me, I would equate it to Uhuru Kenyatta's voice.
Oh, that's
you gave me the
interesting.
vibe that when I listen to Uhuru Kenyatta, that authority, you can tell.
So interesting.
You know? And
obviously that's not how it sounds to me, but yeah.
Yes. And whenever I listen to your podcast, it doesn't come through as such, but in person, I've totally gotten it.
Right.
Does your personality match your voice?
On the one hand, yes.
Okay.
I would say that I'm fairly convicted. I'm assertive. I know what I want. So that's exactly how I approach life. That's how I approach conversation. That's how I approach work, or whatever the case may be. That's how I approach my relationships. But in more personable environments, I guess my friends would say, I'm very joyous. I'm a very joyous person. I'm also very sensitive, very empathetic. I love to have fun. Yeah, empathetic would be probably my grounding characteristic, I would say. And yeah, I'm just a little, I'm really just a big heart for real, but I do have a very strong side to me as well. My masculine energy is very awake, but there is also this other side. And actually this side I feel like is more present than this side. But I guess when I talk and when I'm at work and all of these things, it's when the camera is usually on me most. But the other tender moments, oh God, yeah, I'm just tender little Lydia.
So how do you deal with imposter syndrome?
Two things that changed again for me as far as imposter syndrome with therapy as well. One thing was that there's I don't know who the guy is. I can't even remember what the course was. But I was doing just a mini course on Instagram, and the guy said, if you're one step ahead of someone in any skill, you can charge them to take them from where they are to where you are. So you don't have to be an expert at anything. If even now I'm doing content creation consultation, somebody is at the beginning of their YouTube journey, they don't understand audience, they don't understand their language or whatever. TMI has been one of the fastest growing YouTube channels. I'm part of that. I can tell you how to get from that step A to at least step B, even maybe if I'm in step F or whatever, you know. So that's one thing. Stop waiting to be an expert to get compensated for the value you offer. One. Two, I read this book called We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel. I can't remember her last name, sorry, but it was said we should all be millionaires. And in that she said, you're worried about how much you're going to charge. You're worried that people are not going to afford your services. You're worried that if you, like now, if I make my lives places where people can pay, people won't be able to afford it, people won't be able to come. You're so focused on other people's pockets and what they can do as far as their money, but you're not worried about your own broke ass pockets. Do you have a pension? No. Are you a homeowner? No. Are you living the life that you want? No. Worry about your broke ass pockets. Those two things change the game for me as far as how I show up in my value, as far as knowing my worth, as far as knowing that how I'm being compensated is not based on the physical activity. We are past that. I'm a creative. You're not paying me for how long it would take me to do anything. You're paying me for the value. And now, even with my pricing, it's value-based pricing, not labor-based pricing. It's value-based. And those two things, now I just show up like, I am more value, this is it. But also, Ivy told me that there are different types of imposter syndromes, and you're going to need to research on them. But mine was mostly about the charging part, right? And that's how I conquered mine. But check on the other types of imposter syndrome and see how you can adjust to those. Yeah, like some of them, I think one of them is perfectionist. I'm not a perfectionist. So that one I didn't need to heal. Yeah.
Wow, okay. I know that I actually picked that up from you also. I've battled it at some point. When I saw you saying that, I was like, okay, adjust your crown sleeves and
let's do
move
it.
on.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's a very good thing to say. And people actually need to hear that. So it would be a great disservice to have you on here and we don't speak about TMI.
It would. It would.
So we had to talk about TMI. First of all, are you guys friends, or you just started as podcasters?
So TMI, for those who don't know, it's the Messy in Between podcast, and our tagline is honest conversation about life as it is messy, and it's geared to have conversations about the experiences of, I guess from our perspective, women, but people in general, from the ages of 18 until you figure life out, because I don't know what age that is. So all that messiness in relationships, in money, in all of this, in sex, and so we have our conversations very openly, very candidly. It's very clutch your pearls, honey, because we don't hold back. We talk about it the way that you would ordinarily talk about it with your friends. So me and Murugi are actually friends. Murugi Muni is the other half of TMI podcast. We started off, we were working on a show. I was a talk show host and so was she. So she joined the panel of the talk show host we were working on, and then we began a friendship there. And then it was just a slow progression, but definitely TMI has accelerated our friendship beyond, right? But we are not just business partners. We are very much, actually the center and the core of TMI is our friendship. And then we happen to have a business together. So yeah.
And that's nice to see, because there's this narrative around that women do not support women. and
a lie.
that women cannot be friends for long. There'll be some issues. How have you guys been able to get over that bit and maintain the friendship for this long?
I feel like friendship, I mean, first of all, even men have breakups. That it's not like men have only long life friends and it's only women who don't. But because women are we have the liberty to be more emotional, to express our emotions more often. Where there's that much emotion, there's gonna be friction, and that's okay. But it's not because you're a woman. It's just this is our nature. But as far as our friendship, first of all, nurture the friendship, nurture the thing that's keeping the business going. So we do that. We have the hard conversations, we have the uncomfortable moments. So if we're nurturing that, then this other part is fine. Then when it comes to TMI, we have such a shared passion for the growth of that platform, and a very strong one. So all the decisions we make is always about what's good for TMI. If I suggest a topic and Murugi doesn't feel like she's aligned with it, we don't do it. It's not about me. It's about TMI. And that's what we always say. And the way we make decisions is who is most passionate about their own stance, and that's what we go for it. So for example, you want to talk about relationships today, I want to talk about money, right? And you feel really passionate about your topic, we'll go with yours. And we've just decided that what's good for TMI prevails. So we take ourselves away from the personal decisions making. It's always about what's good for TMI. So that's how we've been able to navigate. TMI is turning 2 in July, but our friendship is almost 4 years now. We met, so it's also young, but because of having to work together, because of choosing to work together, it's accelerated the strength of our relationship and the strength of our friendship. But we hope that the guiding principles that we have now are going to keep us going in all of the changes that life is going to bring us, and that we're going to stay friends, and we're going to stay creating TMI. Yeah, we can only hope.
Okay. What are some of the boundaries? I know you've mentioned about it's not being just your thing or just what Murugi wants, but what is good for TMI. Give me like maybe 2 more that you've put in place to ensure that it always comes first, the podcast.
Yeah, and it's also not Lydia's either. So it's like, both of us equally. Another thing, I think, this is not things we put in place, but we're just very disciplined workers. We just don't play around with work. We are where we need to be when we need to be, and we're doing what we need to do. So we are very consistent with that, and nobody needs to be forced to do that. Sacrificing time and effort for TMI goes without saying. Some of these things we already knew of each other personally, and we thought it could work, because if your work ethic is not matching, if your level of discipline in the way you're visualizing where the brand is going is different, those are the things that come in play. So they're not necessarily boundaries, but they're just guiding principles that are inherently in me and her, and then we just do it. Having the difficult conversation and being honest, that goes without saying as well, because you want that when you're talking about the topic, you love it. You are giving your best to TMI. So those are the kind of things that we've seen as our guiding principles, but we didn't sit down and have a conversation about it. It's inherently in both of us. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice to know. Lydia, I think I've covered majority of what I wanted to ask you. I feel like we could go on and on and on.
I could. Anything honest.
But I want to ask you, is there something that maybe you wanted us to speak about and I didn't bring it up?
Oh my goodness. I think you've been a wonderful interviewer.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like you've touched base, and wherever the conversation went, I think you pivoted around that so that we can flow. No, I don't think there's anything. I think I want people, want to represent me that I feel like you haven't touched on. Therapy, taking care of yourself, affirmations. I am known as the queen of affirmations because I do affirmations every morning. There's an affirmation and I would theme them. So there's that. What else? Yeah, no, I think you've touched on pretty much everything that I'm about. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for this conversation. Yeah, I know I talk a lot. I know.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Now I'm going to invite you into one small segment that we have. We call it the Enjoyment Circle. So I'll just ask you questions generally about yourself.
Okay.
You're only allowed to pass one.
Only so I can't pass any.
Only one in the whole segment.
I don't think I'll pass. But
No, I don't think you pass. In fact, I've looked at those questions. I was so soft.
You
I should
were?
have. Yeah, I should have really gone
should have
in.
gone ham.
Yeah, I should have gone in. But this is what I came up with. You can start by telling us your full names.
My full names are Lydia Carlene Mukami. Those are my full names. Or you wanted my name on my ID?
No, that's fine
enough.
too.
Lydia Carlene Mukami, and that's what the KM stands for.
Okay. Do you have a nickname?
I don't think so. People call me Lyd. Actually, the Babes, that's the name of those who follow my platform. They're called the Babes, and they call me Lyd.
Okay.
So yeah, actually almost, I don't know who calls me. Even when someone says Lady, I'm just like, yeah, a lot of people call me Lyd.
All right. What was your best age, face, and why?
This right now. Oh, this is it. This is it. 31. I went through a breakup. So, I mean, that wasn't fun. But this right now, this time in my life is the best time. It's the best time. In as far as why, I have freedom. I'm financially comfortable. I'm doing what I love, and all of the care and all of the love and this wellness practices are. I'm getting all the nurturing now. I'm getting all of the sweetness of it just now. Oh, I love it right now. Yeah,
love to hear it. The beach or the forest?
Oh, beach, for sure.
Bikini or one piece?
Bikini.
There we go.
Yeah, anybody's a bikini body, by the way. So let it show.
Okay, cozy day idea. Would you prefer to dine out or homemade dinner?
Oh, always dine out. I would leave a restaurant if they let me.
Okay. Yeah. What's your favorite song at the moment?
Oh, if there's something you wanna do, just do it. Yep. It's Live More, Love More by Cat Burns.
Which celebrity would you like to meet?
Ooh. Dun 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 dun. Oh my God. Oh dear. The person who first comes in mind, and I guess it was her birthday 2 days ago. Her name is Shan Budi, and I would just, every time she speaks, I'm just like, what? She's just amazing in the way she articulates herself. So I think Shan Budi would be the person who I'd love to meet.
Okay. While living a relationship, would you ghost them, or you talk it out and have an amicable breakup?
Ghosting is unacceptable. All of my relationships I've broken up with someone face to face. I wouldn't do that. Yeah.
Okay. What life lesson did you learn the hard way?
Everything about your life is from the story you've been telling yourself. Everything. It's the story. It's just the story reflecting back to you.
Okay. What did you want to be when you were growing up?
I wanted to be a lawyer. I even have my undergrad, my master's in law. I worked in a law firm for about a year and a half before relocating here. I actually came back to Kenya to do law school. So I wanted to be a lawyer. There's some point I wanted to be an actress. I actually do acting and I loved it. I was acting when I was younger. I also wanted to be an air hostess. I've been wanted to many things, but law is the one which I really pursued quite a bit.
Okay. If a billionaire gave you their credit card and they asked you to get a soda for them, what would you get for yourself?
If a billionaire gave me their credit card to get a soda for
them, what would you get for yourself?
Have they given me permission to get it?
Assuming yes.
Oh, what soda would I get myself?
Yeah, no. What would you get yourself? They gave you the credit card and they said, "Go help me get a soda." What would you get for yourself?
God, I'm not a things person, so me, I would do things to create memories. So I would buy myself holidays. I would just book myself holidays for the next 5 years. All of my holidays, I travel with my family and go and make memories. That's what I would do. Yeah, I would pay for my holidays.
I love that.
Yeah.
What do you know today that you didn't know a year ago?
Just how incredible I am. Yeah. I knew I was incredible, but now I know just how incredible I am. Yeah.
Okay. When an old friend who hurt you deeply...
Oh, sorry, and the power of therapy.
Okay, great. When an old friend who hurt you deeply comes back, would you make up or would you ignore them?
I wouldn't ignore them. I would give them the space for a conversation, assuming I have the mental capacity to have that, I would have a conversation, but I would have to have the conversation to know whether or not would have a reconciliation. Reconciliation.
Okay. If I could grant you one wish, what would it be?
If you could grant me one wish, give me 100 more. That's what. Give me 100 more. That's my wish. Wishes. Give me 100 more wishes. But if I had to have one wish, it would be to be the end in my generation of any generational curses, any generational traumas. I would wish to be the end of it, so that like my children have a fresh new start and new perspective. Yeah.
Okay, that's deep. That's deep.
Yeah.
As of today, how many of your friends do you trust with your life?
God, I think anyone who I call a friend now, like, because I don't carry that lightly. A friend, all of my friends, I would trust them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Describe yourself in one sentence.
Oh dear. One sentence?
Just one.
Oh, not even words. One sentence. God, that's a difficult one in a sentence.
Okay, let's make it easier. 3 words.
3 words. Actually, if I could describe myself in one statement, I would say zest for life. Yeah, somebody once told me I have like a zest for life, and when I thought about it, that is it. That's the thing that really kind of drives everything else. Zest for life.
Okay. Lastly, tell us one thing you're looking forward to this year.
This year, my word of the year is me. So we are calling this year 2020 me. One thing I'm looking forward to, it's not even a thing, but it's to see who I am when I am the center of my own object. Like I'm the center of my affection and my warmth and my love. I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of life I could create from that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
And to TMI turning 2.
Thanks for coming. Thanks so much for taking your time. I know we've been planning this for quite some time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I love these kind of conversations. I said this year that a goal of mine is to be the wellness voice in Kenya, right? And part of that is to amplify more platforms where wellness is the conversation. So thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you so much for this conversation. I could do this for 2 more hours, I promise you. But yeah, I appreciate it, and I appreciate what you're doing, and I'm wishing you the best with this platform because these conversations are important. They're important, and they're being had in so many other places in the world. Correct. It's great that they're having here, and you're part of it. So thank you too.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate your kind words, and I know we'll call you more and more. You know, I want us to have more of this, and like you're saying, put the word out there.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. So there you have it. If I tell you that this is one of the most self-aware people that I've met, it's not a lie. This woman oozes it. Like, it's in how she talks, it's in how she walks, it's in how she presents herself. Go and follow her on her social media platforms, and let's ensure that we are all at a good space with ourselves. And let us ensure that, if not anything, let us work to reach where Lydia has reached. Thank you all for watching. Remember to share, to like, and to subscribe, and to give us your feedback on this episode. I've been your host, JF. See you on the next one.
Bye.